I think the relationship with the government for us is very interesting. And I started a business. I told my people and team, in love with the government, don't marry them.
This is Jack Ma, the most famous living Chinese person. He's a business magnate, investor, and philanthropist with a net worth of $45 billion at the time of making this video. He started one of the world's largest companies, Alibaba. In 2020, he was China's most iconic and richest man. Everything was going perfect for him until he made a speech at the Bund Summit in Shanghai, after which he disappeared from the public eye and had his highly anticipated Ant Group IPO cancelled 48 hours beforehand. To understand the magnitude of Jack Ma's story, imagine Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, or Bill Gates criticizing the government and then they disappear, having their assets sold and their businesses taken over by the government. This is a story of a man who created everything but had it all taken away from him. Jack Ma's real name is Ma Yun. He was born in Hangzhou, Zhejiang, China, in a lower-class family with an older brother and younger sister. In 1972, former U.S. President Richard Nixon visited Hangzhou, boosting its tourism industry. Jack Ma saw opportunity in this. Wanting to improve his English skills, Jack would cycle 17 miles to offer free English tours to foreigners. You're probably wondering how he got the name of Jack. On one of his tours, he became pen pals with a foreigner who gave him the nickname Jack. Later in life, Jack would have his fair share of failures. He failed the entrance exam for the Hangzhou Teachers College twice. It took him 3 years to pass the Chinese entrance exams, and he applied to Harvard Business School 10 times and was rejected each time. During and after his bachelor's degree, Jack applied for many jobs, most notable at KFC.
30 times got rejected. I went for a police. They said, no, you're not good. I went to even the KFC. When KFC came to China, come to my city, 24 people went for the job. 23 people were accepted. I was the only one guy. And we went for police. 5 people, 4 of them accepted. I was the only guy that did not receive it. So to me, being turned down, rejected.
Also, on his entrepreneurial undertakings, Jack Ma went on to fail on 2 of his initial ventures, but that didn't stop him in any way of dreaming bigger. In 1995, Jack visited the US for a government project related to the building of highways. It was at this time that Jack was first introduced to the internet and computers, both of which were rare in China at the time. After searching for China in the MOSAIC browser, Jack saw no results and decided it was time to bring the internet to the people of China. From 1998 to 1999, Jack led an information technology company, but decided to quit and return to Hangzhou to start a China-based business-to-business marketplace site, Alibaba. He persuaded 17 of his friends to invest a small sum of money and join him in running the company from his apartment. They later went on to raise $20 million from SoftBank and another $5 million from Goldman Sachs in 1999. Alibaba became profitable 3 years later. In 2014, Alibaba raised over $25 billion in an initial public offering on the New York Stock Exchange, making Jack the richest man in China and Alibaba one of the most valuable companies in the world, and the second largest IPO in US financial history. Ma also went on to start other e-commerce related companies such as Taobao Marketplace, Alimama, and in particular Ant Group, a fintech firm that owns the likes of Alipay, which we need to keep in mind for later on in this video. Jack was able to have dinners with the likes of Bill Gates, Justin Trudeau, and other leaders from around the globe. In 2018, he spent half the year outside of China meeting the likes of the Thai Prime Minister, Israeli Prime Minister, and King of Jordan. With this sort of reach, Jack was representing China on the global stage. Over the next decade, it would seem like Jack was unstoppable and living the dream. On the 24th of October 2020, Jack gave a speech at a summit in Shanghai. Everything would change for him after this. In his speech, he criticized outdated supervision of financial regulation for stifling innovation and said its global banking rules were like an old people's club. He called for reform and said that Chinese banks had a pawn-shop mentality and that those who run them were old men, inferring they were out of touch. He went on to call out the government's interference in businesses and their potential growth, saying, "The game in the future is about innovation, not just regulatory skills." Onlooking were members of the ruling party of China, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, who have total control of the state. The CCP perceived Jack's speech as a direct attack and decided to show Jack where his loyalties should lie. China would meet with China's top regulators, after which they published stricter rules for companies like Ant Group. At this time, Ant Group was also set to become the most valuable IPO ever, at $34 billion. By October 2020, the share price on the private market gained 50%, and the offering was said to have been 80 times oversubscribed. However, on November 3, 2020, 48 hours before the IPO, the Shanghai Stock Exchange canceled the IPO, citing significant changes in the regulatory environment. The Ant Group was ordered to restructure its financial business, and an antitrust investigation was launched against the group. Ant Group's consumer loan issuance was larger than every state-owned bank. Its annual payment volume surpassed China's GDP, and it has around 1 billion active users. Alongside this, Alibaba and Alipay have a range of investments in Chinese startups. After the antitrust investigation in Alibaba was announced, its shares dropped a record 13.4%, wiping $100 billion off of its market cap. With this level of power, Jack and his companies were starting to become larger than the CCP in some industries, the exact scenario the CCP doesn't allow. Jack also owns the news outlet South China Morning Post, which gave him further opportunity to influence Chinese society and challenge the CCP. The CCP is reportedly putting Jack under pressure to sell the SCMP to another Chinese entity. This doesn't come as a surprise, as the CCP have been cracking down on media outlets for a while. In October 2020, shockingly, Jack disappeared. He failed to appear in the final of his own talent show and was removed from the show's website and promotional videos. He didn't appear at the Shanghai Zhejiang Chamber of Commerce meeting, a forum he has attended every year since 2016. He also stopped posting on Twitter. On the 20th of January 2021, an uncharacteristic Jack eventually resurfaced in the form of a short video addressed for a charity event. Whether Jack was just laying low or if the authorities captured him, we'll never know. On the 10th of April 2021, the State Administration for Market Regulation, the National Antitrust Enforcement Agency of China, slapped Alibaba with a $2.8 billion fine, saying that Alibaba abused its position of using a practice called choose one from two, essentially punishing merchants who operate online stores on both Alibaba and its rival platforms. After the CCP's response, Jack's assets have been significantly reduced in value, from a combined $1.3 trillion to $696 billion, a reduction of nearly 50%. Like any large tech conglomerate, Ant Group may have had business practices that were anti-competitive, but the coincidental timing of Jack's speech, disappearance, and crackdown do raise suspicions. A question that keeps coming back to me is if Jack Ma wasn't so popular, would he have appeared again? There's no interest in China completely destroying Jack Ma and what he's built. This wouldn't be a good look for attracting global business. However, the CCP is tightening control over Chinese society, and it seems that more and more companies will be controlled by the CCP regardless of how powerful they are. Jack Ma isn't the first to feel the wrath of the CCP. There's been billionaires and executives that have gone missing or mysteriously returned in government custody accepting charges of corruption. Gaogun Cheng, founder and chairman of investment conglomerate Fosun International, with a net worth of $7 billion, went missing on December 10, 2015. His company said he was assisting authorities with an undisclosed investigation. He eventually reappeared again. Chao Cheng-john, the founder of fashion firm Shanghai Metersbonwe Fashion and Accessories, with a net worth of $6 billion, went missing on January 7, 2016. Zhao was believed to be involved in an investigation to insider trading and share manipulation. He eventually reappeared again. Neither of them have spoken about their absence since returning to the public eye. In March 2020, real estate mogul Renju Cheng reportedly went missing in March after publishing an online essay that criticized the Chinese government's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. He was expelled from the CCP, had his assets seized, and was sentenced to 18 years in prison. On the 27th of January 2017, Zhao Jianhua, a high-flying executive for the investment firm Tomorrow Group, was snatched by Chinese security officers from Hong Kong and moved to mainland China. Zhao was reportedly taken from a four-season hotel in a wheelchair with his head covered. He was not known to use a wheelchair normally. He hasn't been seen in the public eye since. These are only the well-known people. There's a long list of lesser-known people who have also gone missing. It's clear what the CCP are doing is bigger than Jack Ma. Anyone who says anything remotely against them or has the power to change them, well, we know what happens to them. China is becoming a place where being wealthy or popular is a danger. What's the point in working so hard to build something when the state can easily arrest you, make you disappear, strip you of your assets, and take over your company, only to send a message that no one is above the party or beyond its reach, place where no one is truly free. In the case of Jack Ma, all he can do is lay low and fall in line, or decide to leave the country altogether. Jack Ma, a poor boy from Hangzhou, introduced China to the internet and inspired a generation of people. A part of why China is as powerful as they are now. Does Jack Ma owe China, or does China owe Jack Ma? Without him, would China be as technologically advanced as they are?